we went back and watched a ton of snaps from Casey Thompson. I think every snap from last year with Texas. We watched Purdy and Smothers as well. Obviously not as much film on them considering they've combined for I think 2 games over the last 2 years of college, like full games that you could get. I think we all agree, or you and I at least, we agree Thompson's going to be at least the day one starter. We'll see how it goes from there. Did you learn anything? Did your opinion on him change one way or the other? And what do you feel after watching a little bit more on Purdy and Smothers?
So I guess let's just start with Casey, and then we can end up finishing with him. We'll come back around to him. I agree. He's definitely going to start. I would be shocked. I would put a substantial amount of money, if I had a substantial amount of money, on him being the day one starter, like you said. I think he's got to
get hurt, right? There's no way he doesn't start.
Exactly. That's seemingly. Just like we think Ramir Johnson's going to start at running back, I think it's clear that Casey Thompson's going to be that day one starter. And, you know, like with anything, the more you learn, the more you really dive into somebody, the more you feel comfortable with them or uncomfortable. And I feel more comfortable with him. I love his toughness, man. You know, my Bears, we've got Justin Fields. Justin Fields took some shots at Ohio State and got back up, and you're just like, holy crap, he's gonna play. I found myself during his snaps saying, oh my God, he came back in 3 times. I watched him take shots that I didn't think he was gonna finish the game, and he did. But every time I felt like I was ready to count him and Texas out, and maybe they did lose in the end, but every time I said, oh, it's over, there won't be another highlight from this game, he comes back out and he throws a touchdown strike, or he runs through the end zone dragging 2 or 3 guys. Like, he's tough, he's gritty, he's got a good enough arm. It's not the very best, but it is not bad. It's better than Martinez. I feel like his deep ball is better than Martinez. And I feel like I heard you saying quite a few times that you just really love his decision making. Now, we watched every snap, so that didn't last, right? There were plenty of times where we were like, oh my God, what was he doing? But those are circumstantial. And I think we will have said that much more times about Adrian Martinez than we will Casey Thompson by the time he leaves. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. It's weird for me because it's like you can't avoid, no matter who the quarterback is and when, they're going to get compared to Martinez, right? At least the beginning of the season. And that was the main thing I'm looking at in comparison, even though I'm purposely trying to compare him to the other 2 guys that we're looking at in Purdy and Smothers, right? I mean, I think we all kind of assume or agree that Torres is probably going to get redshirted, right? I mean, he might take some snaps in some blowout games or something, but I don't think he goes over that 4-game mark. They'd be wrong, you know, if he impresses or does whatever. But with Casey Thompson, the 2 main things inside of 20 yards, I felt like his passing was great. Decision making was great. He drives through the ball. He doesn't lean back on his back leg and lob it up like so many quarterbacks from here have in the last few years. I felt his deep ball not much different than Martinez, to be honest with you. He overthrew a lot of guys. I guess it's different in the sense that I felt like Martinez had guys having to come back, or balls where they had a guy beat by 3 yards turned into a jump ball. I felt like he was overthrowing guys when he missed. But, I mean, he would hit guys in perfect stride on those running back passes that swing wide that just seem to be hard for a lot of quarterbacks to hit. I know Armstrong had trouble with those a lot. The bubble screens, things like that. And there's not a lot of waiting around. You know, when the pocket broke down, and it broke down a lot with Texas, I was almost as impressed with how bad Texas' offensive line was as I was with the guys we were watching. Like, I didn't think anybody's line was close to as bad as ours. And I think that played into some of the decision making as we got farther through the season, watching the tape, where it's just not, because to your point, he was tough. He'd stay in there and take the hits and deliver the passes. But, you know what I mean? There was just times where, like, he couldn't even finish his step, you know, his drop back, and he had multiple guys on him, you know, and he's trying to hurry up and either get the ball out as quick as he can to a guy on a slant, and like the one where the nickel jumps the route and takes it to the house. Just, little things like that. It's going to happen at all levels, but it's going to happen a lot more with bad offensive lines. But the main takeaways, like agreeing with you and kind of backing what you said, I like how he plants and drives. He drives off of his back leg instead of hanging on his back leg and getting, letting the ball sail. And there wasn't, when the pocket broke down or guys just weren't open, he figured out what side of the field was most open and went. There wasn't running around for a half hour in the backfield. And, instead of getting an 8-yard gain, he waited for somebody to close in on him and then decided to take off, and it turned into a two-yard gain, and a potential fumble. So I liked that about him. To me, the biggest downside was when guys would blow the top off, he missed them more than he hit him, I felt. And even some of the catches, guys were like laying out to catch him, or they were, so far off stride there, they stumbled up or whatever where it didn't go deep. But how often do we throw deep? We keep talking about the new offense. Maybe that changes, but it's not like we attack downfield a lot. So good enough. From what I've seen, I feel like it's good enough to replace Martinez and be a bit of an improvement, especially from the passing angle. His running is nowhere near what Martinez was, but I don't know how much they're still going to try and utilize. I felt like they dialed back Martinez's running. Like it was almost like somebody. I think we did a video where Corey and I were talking about it. It's almost like they told him they don't want him running. He'd be under pressure, the field will open up, he'd take off, and then he'd get right to the line and stop, and then he'd wait, kind of back to what I was saying. So I don't know how much that's going to affect it, but if between the running game, the actual running game, and like jet sweep, and if we're going to pass as much as people are anticipating we're going to pass, I definitely think it's a bit of an upgrade.
So now with Smothers, I was much more impressed watching his highlights from high school. Obviously, he's going up against lesser competition, but like I was saying when we watched it, I just feel like the coaches weren't ready to let him really try to do too much passing, especially considering it was Iowa, and boy, did we almost sneak a W. But yeah, I have higher hopes for Smothers than I did before as well. He's got great movement as far as speed laterally and up and down the field, straight line speed. Like you said, he can plant once and go, but he can also move side to side really nicely. I don't think he has that Taylor Martinez top end speed, no, or that McCaffrey top end speed. But as soon as he calms down in the pocket, I think we would see a completely different Smothers, because remember, he was, top 2 dual threat quarterbacks coming out of high school when he did. Yeah. Come on, man. It's no slouch. What are you thinking on Smothers? I think you're higher on Smothers than I am.
I'm high on Smothers because I'm used to what I've seen the last, since Frost got there, with how much we run the quarterback. And I think he's the best runner of those three. Now, if you put Torres in the mix, that kind of changes things. I don't know. I'm not saying he's better than Smothers, but there's more of it's a lot closer there. There's an argument to be had, at least. I don't think there's an argument to be had on who the better mobile quarterback is between Purdy, Thompson, and Smothers. Again, if we're not going to run the ball a lot and you're just going to rely on arms, now I think the conversation has more to do with Purdy and Thompson than it does Smothers and anybody else. But if we're going to run a lot with the quarterback, that's your guy. Like to your point, he doesn't have the breakaway speed. Thompson doesn't either. None of those guys.
But you don't think we're going to be running a run-heavy offense with the quarterback with Whipple, right?
I don't know.
I wouldn't think we are.
But I don't know, man.
And Casey's the only option for, in my opinion, the only good option for Whipple's offense of passing the ball a lot. And he loves hitting one receiver over and over and over and over like that. Just, I don't know. You can be a running quarterback and do that, I suppose, but I just don't see how he would ever take this job away from Casey unless he got injured, like you were saying.
I don't have anything really to base it off of other than what Whipple ran like at Pittsburgh and stuff like that. I think our offense is going to transition more to a quarterback that can run as opposed to a quarterback that runs, right? So like, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of, I think there'll still be RPOs to keep the defense on its toes, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of designed quarterback runs unless it's like, you know, short downs, you know, I mean, short distance.
Right.
So, I mean, and Casey's good enough mobility wise for that, you know, he's almost perfect for that. So if you take away the quarterback run game, I think you kind of handcuff Smothers a bit, because I don't know, I haven't seen enough, but I don't think that he's, you know, walking up to the line, reading defenses and already starting to figure out what he's going to do, and then he drops back in the pocket and picks them apart. I just don't see that aspect to his game. So if he can't make safeties and backers worry about him taking off, and everybody can just kind of, you know, they can put a typical 4 in the box, worry about a traditional run, other than that everybody kind of covers the field, I don't know that he really can accelerate in that type of offense against, you know, defenses that don't have to worry about him taking off, you know, on purpose, like by design.
Talk to me about Purdy. Where did you end up on him after watching as many highlights and snaps as we could?
Yeah, I wish there was more on him, because there would be flashes of stuff where it's like, oh man, this dude's got an arm, and he's big body. So when he runs, he's got the body to where he's not shying away from anyone, but between like the stiff arm he has and his size, the way he rolls, like he kind of absorbs contact as he's going out, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? He doesn't like dip his hat and try to go through anybody or anything like that. But it's like, I wouldn't worry about him if the offensive line is, you know, along the lines as it was last year, and he's taken a lot of hits. I mean, he seems to be a little bit more durable. Like I said, based off of what 12 highlights or whatever we saw.
I mean, but Purdy just really passes the eye test for me. I haven't seen it throwing wise yet with him, but he's got that big body. He's athletic. He looks the part. He's confident. I think he's a really good runner, though, man. Okay, you're gonna laugh at this, but he reminds me, when I watched highlights high school, Jay Cutler minus the giant cannon. Cutler was cooking people downfield, but Cutler ran a lot and ran through people and stiff armed them and could juke as well. That's who Purdy looks like to me, minus the, you know, ability to throw it 80 yards.
Yeah, I mean, how many times did we see him actually throw deep?
It was rare, and it was from bad angles, so you couldn't really see, you know.
I remember two specifically, because I remember like I would see it started off the one where he's throwing looked like maybe like a 6-8 yard slant, and he missed horribly, like almost threw it straight to the safety, and I'm just like, oh my god. And then he throws like 3 or 4 really nice passes, granted all short, you know, like none of the plays were deep, and then all of a sudden he drops back, he airs one out and hits a dude in perfect stride, and it's like, okay, maybe the deep ball is his thing or whatever else. And then 4 or 5 plays later, he throws a deep ball and he's like 7 yards underneath the guy. So it's like, in spurts he looks like he could be a really, really good passer, and in other spurts he looks horrible, and there's not enough game film to go over to be like, okay, this is more common, this is rare. You know, it's just kind of a mixture of,
I agree,
good and bad, and it's really hard to decipher what you're getting. I don't know, man.
I don't think we're gonna see Purdy this year.
I don't know that we won't see Purdy. I don't know that we'll see him much. My big thing is, I feel like, and a lot of people would agree, some people might disagree, Frost handcuffed himself to Adrian Martinez before he got here. You know, he walked off the field from whatever it was when they won the conference title against Memphis, or when they beat Auburn, whichever game, I can't remember. And he called Martinez, who was committed to Tennessee, and he got him to decommit and commit.
Gave him the keys.
You're my guy. You're doing whatever. And he was loyal to that dude for better or for worse, right? The whole 4 years. And there's a lot of grumblings from Lincoln, fans galore, you know, more fans than not have thought he's not going with the best guy. He's going with guys that he either has personal relationships with or that he's, you know, made promises to. Even though all you hear from new recruits and all you hear from the coaches is whoever the better guy is, whoever practices better, whoever shows more in film, that's who's going to play. I mean, a lot of people have an issue with that because we don't feel that that's what's actually happened. So, whatever, there's really no way to prove what's what. And we see highlights and we see games, and that's it. These guys watch them in practice. They go watch films on the practice. They see how they execute plays. They see how their technique is. They watch all this stuff. So, I mean, it's easy to be like, oh, the quarterback had a bad passing game or a bad game period. We need to go with the other guy. Did he have a bad game because receivers weren't breaking hard off of their routes and getting open? Or did he have a bad game because the offensive line couldn't hold up? Did he have a bad game because the running backs couldn't get loose and nobody was worried about the run? They were dropping in coverage. Like, there's a lot of factors to that. My hope is we're not going to know who does well in a game because there's only going to be one quarterback in the game, right? My hope is if they're seeing stuff in practice or guys are clearly blowing open guys. I didn't mean that. If guys are clearly missing, they're missing open guys. They're missing, spots when they should run. They're missing reads on RPOs. That they go to the next guy or they go to whoever that guy is that's looking better, because you've got guys that were very highly recruited, 4-star guys basically coming out of high school that should be capable, to where it's not like there shouldn't be this huge drop off. Maybe there is, but I'm saying, like, when you have 3 quarterbacks like that should be ready to go. You got another quarterback that everybody's excited about as a dual threat in Torres. You've got I can never ever remember his name from
Masker.
Here. And so you've got options, and it's not like the options are drastic drop-offs. You know what I mean? Like, a perfect example is when Martinez couldn't go and they had to go with Smothers against Iowa. It came down to ball safety, or Smothers would have won that game. You know what that would have done for the fan base? If Martinez started at quarterback all year long, we get 3 wins, and then Logan Smothers comes in last game of the season and we finally beat Iowa and get that 4th win. Like, everybody, dude, if you'd have started him 6 weeks ago, we'd be bowling. You know what I mean? Like, people overreact to stuff like that, but it's like, it's true. It almost happened. It came down really to the end of the game when he threw the interception. So it's not like the play was that big of a drop off. And I don't know, but I'm assuming it's not going to be that drastic of a drop off here, to where if Thompson goes through a couple bad games, or he's throwing interceptions, or he's missing reads, can we get somebody else that, can we do what we say we're going to do, or what we do here as a program, and actually put the guys that are performing in, or let guys lose jobs? Like, God forbid, let a guy play bad and get bumped. They did it with the offensive line last year, and that's when we came out and had that game against Northwestern, and then looked decent against Michigan. Like, I just hope that the promises or the NIL deals or the whatever else that got Casey Thompson to come here don't allow him to be untouchable no matter what's going on play-wise, every Saturday.
Yeah. Well, aside from Masker here, who doesn't look terrible, I want to talk about one more guy. My guy, Richard Torres Jr. I watched him again after we were done watching all the quarterbacks. Watched him again. And dude, I'm confident. I feel like he's going to wrestle this starting job away from somebody at some point. He'll probably get redshirted this year, but next year, I would hate to be competing with him. Like, everybody, watch his highlights again and tell me he doesn't have NFL quarterback written all over him. I just want to put that out there. I want to be the guy that called it. So I have to officially say that. But what's your thoughts on Richard?
Well, let me ask, what's your biggest selling points for him? Like, if I'm a GM for an NFL team and you're a scout, what are you telling me to sell me undrafted?
I'd say when you watch this guy play, you will drool.
Well, I've watched him play, and like, he has a lot of upside and promise and looks good, and I'm not at all down on him.
How about this?
High,
confidence in the pocket, the ability to escape, keep your eyes downfield, and make something really good happen, because your arm is so strong and you are so talented at throwing the ball that you can hit windows on the move deep after things go wrong.
My point, though, is like, Well, my bad. But that's my point. Like, you're almost making the same point I'm trying to say, is that go watch that highlight, go watch that video that you and I did however long ago it was. And just in that highlight reel we run, how many times does he go old school super technical and just run back and forth behind the line of scrimmage until he finds somebody that he can throw it to? He has a cannon, he can throw it deep.
He had some bad snaps. That's why. He had bad snaps.
And Nebraska has bad snaps.
Exactly.
Jordan was supposedly a stud that went to the NFL, moved over and was going to be one of the best centers we ever had. And that's like the biggest hit we're taking, losing on the offensive line. He had bad snaps. Our offensive line is bad, or, was bad. Hopefully it's a lot better. But not only that, he's not going to be taking bad snaps and dealing with poor line play against whatever other San Antonio high school he was playing. He's going to have 3 and 4 and 5-star scholarship defenders on the other side of the field coming at him. So what's going to happen then when you can't rely on we've seen it a billion times with all the quarterbacks we've had through here that are runners or whatever else in high school. They can just run away from any danger or pressure they get. And then you get to this level and you realize, oh shit, I can't do that. It's very, very rare that you find guys like Michael Vick or whoever else that can do something like that. Guys look amazing on their highlight reels from high school. They move up to the big where they're playing everybody who's recruited as high as them or higher on the defensive side. And now all of a sudden it's like, I can't run around for 45 minutes behind the line of scrimmage and then just air it out once the defense finally breaks down. If you can, great. And maybe he won't have to rely on that. Maybe he is capable of reading defenses and knowing, okay, right after the snap, I'm going to have this guy for a 2.5, 3 yard window. And past that, I'm going to have this guy downfield. If that safety plays up, if he can do that, great. If he can recognize blitzes on different sides and know where his quick out is, or decide with a guy like him, I'm going to pump fake this way and I'm running over here, I'm going to get what I can get, then that's fine. But I don't see any of those things in his highlight reel. Again, doesn't mean he can't do it. I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing him heavily rely on running out of the pocket, and when need be, turning around and running back the other side of the pocket, and if need be, turn around, run the other side, and doing a lot of PlayStation moves until a receiver gets open and he can throw it downfield, or he's ran the defense to one side of, past one set of hash marks, and then he runs around the other side because he's faster than everybody. You're not going to be that fast when you're playing Ohio State and Iowa and Michigan and teams like that have studs all across the defensive side of the ball. So, that's my thing. That's why I'm not as sold on him as you are. Yeah.
I had to just put it out there so that I can pull this tape. Right. So I can pull this tape and show everybody on Twitter when, if and when it happens. But we are anxious to hear what you guys think in the comments. Let us know. Who would you choose if you were able to pick the starter this year? Who would you have backing him up? And is there anyone that is on the roster already that you think is truly the quarterback of the future? Hit the like button, y'all. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we will see you guys next time. Go Skurs.